We really need a third season of this show.
So, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie, is a continuation of the 2018 series of more or less the same name, and believe it or not, this is one of my most anticipated movies of this year, because this series is my favorite rendition of the Turtles yet. If you're not familiar with the show, this new take on the Turtles makes a whole lot of changes to their mythos and rogues gallery, but I absolutely adore and welcome every change they made, such as the Turtles all being a distinct species, the Turtles having mystic powers, Shredder being more like a demon, and all of the changes they made to April. There's so much more, and it's such a shame that the series was cancelled after season 2. You know how scared I was that this movie would be cancelled after the show was officially cancelled in 2019? Especially with Netflix going on a murder spree with its animation department. But here we are, one last hurrah for these younger turtles, and one last chance for the fans to show just how much we love this series. So synopsis wise, the turtles are put to the test when a mysterious stranger named Casey Jones arrives from the future to warn the mutant brothers of an impending invasion of the most dangerous alien force in the galaxy, the Krang. And I gotta say it right here, this movie is fantastic. It picks up right where we left off in season 2, with Leo struggling with his newfound role as team leader. And by struggling, I mean he's straight up avoiding the responsibility. And that right there is really the core of this movie. Leo needs to stop goofing around and learn what it means to trust your team and make the tough calls. The film does this well by starting off in the future so we can see what Leo will become. There's a trajectory for his character here. Something that people often overlook when trying the show out is that a lot of emphasis should be placed on the word rise in the title. This show is a huge Ninja Turtles origin story. In all other versions of the Turtles, Leo is the leader and he's willing and proud to take on the role. He might need to learn how to lead sometimes, but he's always trying. This Leo needs to learn why being a leader is important to a team, and that's something we've never seen before. It's done well too, because Leo is a reckless leader at first, and that brashness almost ruins the team, but there's a great payoff to his arc at the climax of this film. And that climax heavily involves the Krang, who are the villains of this film, and the Krang in this movie, oh man, the Krang. This is the most threatening version of the Krang ever. Listen, all these old versions of Krang pale in comparison to this absolute monster. But development wise, I can't really say that the Krang are anything new. We know that they win in the future, but that's about it. The best I can say about them story-wise is that their ability to mind control others helps manifest the divide between the turtles. Additionally, there's no doubt that this is the greatest physical threat that these turtles have faced, and they have to realize that outsmarting the Krang is just the wiser thing to do. But other than that, the Krang are all flash and screen presence. The only other really vital character in this movie is Raph. In this movie, we finally get to see the Leonardo versus Raphael conflict that's a staple of every Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle rendition. Ironically, here the roles are reversed. As the former leader of the team, Raph pushes Leo into taking up more responsibility. I think this is a cool switch up, and it's appropriate based on their characterization. Unfortunately, the other characters aren't super important for this film. Even Casey Jones, in his debut appearance, is nothing more than a messenger for the team. He's there to perpetuate the inner conflict by setting expectations for Leo, but that's something that would happen without him. And an actual complaint I have about this movie is I wish April and Splinter played a bigger part. April joins the group in episode 1 of the show, and it's a shame she's not more involved in this finale. And I know I said I adored every change this show makes to the Ninja Turtles world, but the one thing I've never liked is how lazy Splinter is. Yeah, I know he was heavily involved once Shredder was resurrected, but this Splinter has no sense of duty whatsoever. And I know traditionally, Splinter only involves himself when necessary, but that's because he wants his sons to grow and learn. In this show, if he hears about the Foot Clan, he'll just be like, oh, that's nice, leave me alone. So the same criticism applies to the movie. He's probably more immature than most of the turtles. Speaking of the turtles, something the show absolutely nails is the family dynamic between the four of them, and this is exponentially true for this movie. While Mikey and Donnie aren't the most involved in the plot, I give them a pass because all four of the turtles are required to form the emotional core of the movie. This movie really pushes their relationship, and whenever a turtle is asked to do something for the sake of their brothers, their actions really make a strong statement. You really understand that these guys, as goofy as they are, would withstand entire wars for each other. And that's saying a lot because these guys fight hard. The number one thing I always advertise to people when convincing them to watch the show is the animation. Oh my gosh, the animation in this show is godlike. The show itself has better fight animation than a lot of anime, but when you give these maniacs a movie budget, you literally couldn't pray for better fights. I'm gonna let the fight speak for itself.
Is this entertaining?
Also, I'm sorry if I'm showing too much of the final fight, but you have to see this if you haven't. You know what? We'll kick this into spoilers. Would I rewatch Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie? Yes. Thank you for watching. Now let's talk about spoilers. Okay, back to the fight. I still can't believe Nickelodeon pumped this out. How dare they cancel this show? I've been rewatching this fight on loop ever since the movie came out. It's just so sad that this is literally the final fight of the series. I do wish it was a bit longer though. And that's why I need you all to promise me you'll watch this movie. It needs support. People need to hear about this show and that it's worth continuing. Do it so we get more beautiful animation like this. But yeah, swerving a little bit back on track, in my opinion, the season 2 finale fight with Shredder was better, as the turtles were a bit more clever with the use of their powers, and here they just kinda combine their powers for a super attack. But I suppose it ties back to the point that they're outmatched and Krang needs to be sent home instead of beaten. And this paves the way for Leo's sacrifice. And I gotta say, this was really well done. I genuinely thought Leo was going to die here. You can't just black out his face like that and proceed to have Krang beat him to the point where there's blood in this kid's show. Not to mention, Leo was content with this because he knew his family was finally safe. Oh, and the way the rest of the turtles each have a part in saving him? Dude, I love this movie. And what's crazy is that this film does all of this without jeopardizing the identity of the show, which admittedly could be a good thing or a bad thing based on perspective, but considering 8 out of 10 people watching this movie will probably be followers of the show, I'd say it's a net positive. The movie is just able to expertly pivot in a way that stays true to the show while fulfilling the Ninja Turtles experience. Take the heavier focus on Leo for example. It doesn't feel out of place because this seems like what the show has always been building to. You could even say that this movie is a reflection of our expectations for the show. At the beginning, we see Leo as already a great leader. This is Leo's time to finally see what we've always been expecting from him. On that note though, I do feel like the movie should have had a heavier emphasis on the theme of expectations. It's there with Leo, but I think it would have been good to see how each brother deals with the expectations placed upon them. Again, it's a reflection of how we expected these characters to act before we started the show. It just kind of annoyed me in this movie that we have both Leo and Mikey's egos inflated just because they know they're going to grow to be strong and powerful. I get that it's in character for both of them, but imagine if Mikey instead struggled to meet expectations and we still have Leo who is avoiding expectations. And maybe here you would only kill off Raph in the future so that Donnie has something to deal with as well. Like Donnie has a lot of hubris in the show, so maybe in the future have him not be as successful as his other brothers, and he has to cope with that. I don't know, just food for thought. But all in all, that's my review for Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie. You can check out my reaction to the final fight right up there, and check out my next video for when I'm unboxing my special edition of Shredder's Revenge. But until then, support this movie. I'll see y'all next time.
Bye.